Hi everyone, welcome to this Zeta Alpha webinar titled the Neural Search Foundation for Secure Enterprise GPT. I'm Gabriel Mayrink, I'm CRO at Zeta Alpha, and I'm here with our founder and CEO, Jakub Zavrel.
Great to be here.
So today, last time, right, in our last webinar, in the new era of AI knowledge management, we covered a lot of room, right, about the business benefits that AI is bringing to knowledge management and by consequence to the organizations through business transformations, and these benefits being around.
So we talked a lot about productivity gains, basically, right?
Productivity gains and decision-making enhancements as well, right? And but the buzz on social media continues, right? So we talking every day is news and more news about GPT. And we want to go deeper into that today, right? So we want actually to understand what's actually needed for you to actually get to experience these benefits that come with GPT, right? And I think to warm up, maybe we can start with recapping some of the practical use cases, right? So where can AI be applied in knowledge management? And then we take from there.
Yeah, let me give you a few. But before we go into any specific use cases, I mean, you can ask GPT to do anything, right? But if you want to use it for work, if you want to use it inside your company, you're going to need to hook it up to your own information. It does not know about your own documents and anything. So that's mainly what we're going to be talking about here in this webinar, and how to do that in a good way. Some use cases that are really appealing, I think, is when you're basically like sifting through information which comes from either very long documents, right, or from many documents. You have hundreds of files, the answer is hidden somewhere there, and they're the classical sort of search interface where you get 10 links and then you have to kind of read through all of them. It's very tedious. So you open a document, maybe the answer is on page 5. You have to scroll through it. So if you can directly get an answer, and especially if you can get an answer which is maybe combines facts from multiple documents, that really saves a tremendous amount of time. So I think that's one of the primary things. And the other one is when you have a document and you just kind of want to get the gist of it very quickly. So like what are the main topics of this document in bullet points, or how does this process work, or where do I find this and that, or
Okay, that's pretty cool. And so if I hear you right, actually these use cases they can be present in any industry, right? So this is pretty much as long as you are a knowledge intensive, you have a knowledge intensive use case or a company or industry, basically AI can help you, or neural search and AI can help you solve some of the problems there, right?
Yeah, I mean, the problems are maybe the most prevalent in places that are close to like innovation and R&D and patent discovery, legal discovery, these kind of things. But it's really everywhere we document a lot, we write a lot of reports, project meetings, etc. But our ability to digest that information and bring it back to new decision making is limited. So it's kind of everywhere.
Oh, it's pretty cool. This is actually also what I hear when I speak with executives and decision makers in different businesses, different industries, also all over the world, that they have the vision, right? And they want to move quickly to have a solution using GPT.
What is that going to mean for our enterprise, basically, right? Everybody sees the transformative potential.
Yes. What does that mean to my enterprise? And they all want the benefits, but they also have some concerns, right? And concerns often.
What are the main concerns that you hear?
Circle a lot around data privacy and security, naturally, right? They don't want their own data and their clients.
Yeah, we've seen some ugly cases in the press, right?
Yeah, and their clients' data going outside. They also are concerned about scalability, right? So is this actually this simple solution for this one problem that I have? What if actually I have a more scalable challenge? Does the solution scale as well?
Yeah, it's become really easy to prototype these things like on a very small scale. Which is good, right? People should experiment by all means. But if you're the CEO of a larger organization, you really want to think about security, but also about this sort of general manageability of these kind of solutions.
It is.
And I think that's kind of what we mean with the foundation layer, right? You want to really have a good foundation before you start building all kinds of wacky experiments.
Yeah, and I think also that it's a difference between you having as a company your own AI team who is actually capable, right? But they can prototype fast.
Yeah.
But to have a solution that is actually used for the long run, that's where things can become tricky, right? And often companies don't have the set of developers that are dedicated to solve knowledge management, so to say. So that's one of a lot of the things that I hear in terms of when speaking with actually these business leaders, right? And it's much more also about change management, right? They all often ask, okay, so what does that actually mean? So for my employees, is it really disruptive, right? If I not implement this solution, will take a lot of I don't know what happens with my
it's a behavioral change, right? But in terms of like search technology knowledge management systems, what you're seeing is mainly that people are going to be asking longer questions, right? We've kind of dumped people down to ask really limited keyword questions because the original generation of systems would only understand these limited keyword questions. When you are going to make things conversational, make things using generative large language models, people are going to be asking long questions, detailed questions, going to expect precise answers, and also the systems to be able to carry on the dialogue and clarify things over many iterations.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that's a good warm up, right? And I have a question to you next, and the question is, okay, all that being said, right, and the audience is here for that, how do we kickstart AI knowledge management? How do we get started?
Well, the number one thing to get started is, of course, to connect this generative large language model capability to your own knowledge, to your internal proprietary knowledge, right? And that's where it starts. You cannot GPT is trained on public web data. It cannot possibly have an answer to a question that's internal to your company, that's sitting inside of your own documents. So connecting this very advanced summarization and reasoning capability, which is very general, to specific knowledge in your company, that's how you get started.
Okay. And so I understand that it's not as straightforward, right, as creating your own personal ChatGPT account and having that solve your enterprise problem. So you have to actually find a way to connect with all the different data sources, right? And these data sources can be many, right? As we know, in organizations, you have different applications, different platforms, which can add a lot to the level of complexity. More and more, or most of the data actually comes in an unstructured format. So we're talking about mostly unstructured data, right? So it's a lot of where the value comes from. As opposed to analytics, also has its value, but it's a lot about unstructured data more and more. But now if we go a level deeper, right? So what is actually this foundation, right? So what is needed? So I understand that, okay, I have these data sources and I have that magical solution that I want to reach to. What's sitting in between?
Yeah, so the basic pattern that you need to implement to get started with this is connecting the large language model to your own information, and that's generally referred to as a retrieval augmented generation. So you're not just going to ask the model to generate, but you're going to ask the model to generate helped by retrieval. So basically you're going to fire the question into your search system. The search system is going to retrieve relevant passages from documents, and then you're going to template those relevant passages into the prompt, right? And then when the large language model has access to the literal text of those passages, it can generate information about your internal data, because it has just read it as part of the prompt. And it can also avoid being imprecise or hallucinating.
Yes, no, that's pretty cool. So I think it's clear that search then is key, right? So actually you have to, once you have a question or a query, right, in order for you to give the answer, you not naturally need to find or search for the relevant documents that contain that answer so that it can generate a good answer to the question, right? But and then what's up with this search layer, search solution specifically, right? Because up until now we have our search bars, we can search for documents.
Yeah.
Sometimes we find stuff, many times we don't. So
yeah, so it's really this new generation of neural search engines that's key to success in this area. And
what is neural search?
What is neural search?
Yeah.
Let me explain. So basically, neural search avoids keyword matching, right? So neural search is search done by neural networks. It's also referred to as vector search or embeddings-based search in many cases. And basically, it takes your question and it turns it into a vector. It vectorizes it using a large neural network like GPT. But this is typically running inside your enterprise environment. And it takes all the documents at indexing time, and it basically also turns them into vectors. So now you have these, and vectors, you can see them as, you know, long strings of numbers or a kind of semantic fingerprint of the meaning of the document, right? And now when you're going to be matching the query and the document, you're just going to look at the distance in this vector space. And you're going to retrieve documents which might not have a single keyword in common with your question, but are relevant, that are really providing the answer. And this becomes especially important when you have questions that are longer than a few keywords. No document in your knowledge base or your document drives is going to contain the exact words of that question, but there are many answers.
Okay, those are pretty cool. So it's I think the value is that when you have a very simple case in keyword, in the past you had keyword-based search, right? So you're searching for Apple, and the search will actually match Apple in the documents, right?
But if you search for fruit, you're not going to find it.
You're not going to find it.
Or if you search for company from Cupertino.
We got a very good explanation of what neural search is, right? And that's what it can do and what it takes actually to what the value that how it shines, right? Or what value it brings. But I also understand that it's not all roses, right? Also has its pitfalls. So can you share a little bit?
Yeah, it sounds a bit like a magical, silver bullet.
With all the synonyms, right? Neural search, vector search, embeddings.
Yeah, complex questions. So basically, there's no single search system which solves all your different question and query types. So a good foundation layer for deploying GPT inside your company actually also needs to provide good keyword search, right? Because, for example, if you're going to be looking for a very specific part number or very, in life sciences for a very specific protein name or the interaction between this particular gene and that particular molecule, you're going to need to have exact matching as well. And so the other important thing is that if you're going to be searching for documents, most companies are not really organized in such a way that you can access everything. Like everybody can see everything, right? So you're going to need to respect access controls, right? You're going to need to make sure that when I ask this question, the answer comes only from the documents that I have access to. And when you ask this question, your authorizations might be different. So this foundational layer needs to respect these kind of access controls and allow you also to filter. Right, you don't want necessarily information from decades back. You want fresh information. So you're going to need this kind of hybrid between the modern, semantically very strong neural search, which allows you to, bridge the keyword gap, find answers to complex questions, even go across language boundaries, or even search in like multimodal settings,
Right.
where you search for images or audio or video. But you still need all these kind of classical enterprise search things.
Right.
And what you see is in the ecosystem, in the marketplace, that you have kind of this dichotomy. You have sort of the classical enterprise search systems, which have some sort of legacy technology stack, and they support all this kind of access control and filtering and faceting and all that, but they don't have a really good neural search foundation layer built in. So they are gonna most of them are just bolting GPT on top of the same search that didn't work really well in the past and that people were frustrated with. That means you're going to get answers which are not very good. On the other hand, you have this whole sort of new breed of vector databases or neural search engines, and many of them just provide this sort of similarity-based search on a large collection, which is excellent if you want to find, like, a document within a million documents that are accessible to everybody. But once you start having the need for a really enterprise deployment, you're gonna need to do access control, filtering, hybrids, search between neural and classical keyword search. So yeah, these two worlds are a bit at odds.
Okay, eventually this neural search foundation, or this foundation layer that actually establishes a connection between GPT and your data knowledge, right, in general of your organization, is much more than the search itself, right? So it's not as simple as you emphasize. There is a search component, especially the semantic search, right? However, it has to also be coupled, or it has to be hybrid in a way. Also, keyword search still has its value, right? So the solution has to be all encompassing there. And there's all this access control. This is quite important, right? So so that I can see maybe private documents or HR documents or salary of my colleagues, right? So there's all kinds of important points there. And I think that's where, as you mentioned, right? So some of the suppliers, they offer solutions that are not really comprehensive in that regard.
They're maybe pioneering in one way or the other.
Yes,
but I think you need both.
Yes, have everything in the same place. That's more difficult to see. Okay, so knowing all of that, which is great, sorry, going deeper and deeper. The question is now, how can I actually implement neural search on top of my existing IT infrastructure, right? And background of the question is, I hear a lot of people in companies, business leaders telling me, do I need to use GPT only? Are there other options as well? Is on-premise possible? Sometimes I hear it must be on-premise for the right reasons, right? So how do I actually implement neural search and this strong foundation layer on top of my existing IT infrastructure?
So I think no IT infrastructure in any two companies is exactly the same, right? So typically companies have dozens of different applications, be it like messaging applications like Slack and Microsoft Teams. They have ticketing systems, Jira, documentation in Confluence, files in OneDrive or Google Drive, Dropbox, CRM systems, Salesforce, HubSpot, right? And to get an accurate answer to any question that has relevance, you're gonna need to search all over that space, right? So to your question, like, how do you build this on top of an existing IT infrastructure? Well, you want to reuse and keep as much as you can those things that you have already invested in, right?
Yes.
Just because you want to ride this wave of new productivity that is being brought through large language models doesn't mean that you want to kind of replace every system in every department.
No.
So what's really important is that this this foundation layer also does the orchestration of accessing and collecting and combining information from all of these different information sources, right? You're gonna like take some open source package and just implement neural search here on Slack, and then you have your developer searching on GitHub, and that's a different silo. You want to bring all of that together, and actually neural search kind of provides the glue of interoperability, of basically being able to make sense of all the different sub languages and content types that you have out of these systems.
Okay, and I still want to insist a little bit. So on the previous question, do I need to use GPT? Are other options available as well? Is on-premise possible?
Yeah, so we get that question a lot. Like,
that's why I'm insisting.
Am I required to send my documents or my queries to OpenAI, or are there other alternatives? So first of all, your document indexing is still usually done in-house, right? That's not done using external services.
Right.
This is deployed as part of your existing IT infrastructure on-premise or in the cloud of your preference, right? So if you look at the generative large language models, the OpenAI ones are definitely leading at the moment in terms of quality. What you see is that with OpenAI, you can request for opt-out of their data retention process. In many cases, companies, definitely in Europe, they are still a bit hesitant to send their information to the United States. Then you can do through Microsoft, access the exact same OpenAI services, but through Microsoft, or you can deploy open source large language models locally, on premise even. You're going to need GPUs for that to make it run fast enough. And it's a bit resource intensive, but it's possible. And these systems are catching up really fast.
Excellent. Okay, so before we wrap up, I wanted you to now go maybe a step in a higher level, right? So back higher level. And just to highlight again how large language models like GPT, right, can contribute to transform organizations going forward, right? So I think it will be a good transition back to finishing the webinar.
Well, I think reuse of knowledge is critical in organizations, right? So I think essentially the potential is to improve productivity, avoid risks of taking the wrong decisions, and just go faster in your development. So
that's really great. And I also understood from you then that we cannot just throw our data directly on GPT or any other large language model, right? So there's all this work in terms of the integration of the access control, of having the proper semantic search or neural search, right?
When you talk about responsible use of AI, right? It's not only responsible in terms of avoiding harms and risk for citizens, like what the European AI Act is mainly concerned with, but it's also responsible in terms of IT policies and data security and you want to this stuff is going really fast, so you do want to rush in, but not rush in mindlessly. So that's why we think that at Zeta Alpha, that building this secure and well-managed enterprise search quality foundation layer capable of doing all of this semantic wizardry with neural search is really crucial for making that transition.
It's great. So unless I have something else you want to share, I want to thank the audience for joining us. So we are here as a trusted partner, right, in this space. Should be interested in discussing more. Check it out, our website and social media for the next webinar to be planned soon. And thank you so much, and thank you, Jakub.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, and looking forward to seeing you in our next webinar on knowledge management and AI.
Yes, that's right.